Hey everyone, Big Red 310 here again. Today's interview is going to be with SandersRobin. The interview went really well. I'm kind of doing a Cole Cabana thing here, kind of being a retrospective after the interview was shot. I thought the interview went really well, like really, really well. One of the best ones I've ever done, and the 7 I've done. Sanders is he's such a knowledgeable guy. He's got a lot to talk about, and it's a very, very enjoyable interview. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I also made this podcast to kind of apologize. This whole past 6 months for me on YouTube has been kind of rough. I've just been constantly busy. I've been all over the place. I was all over the place during the summer, and now I'm just all over the place because of my senior year. Yes, I mentioned senior year a lot. Deal with it. But I just really am sorry for the work that I've put out. I don't feel that my videos have been consistent. My reviews have been all missing. Like for my next All Sides of Wrestling World, which I'm still not done with, I have to review pretty much PWG's entire year, all the Ring of Honor TV shows that I've missed. I still have to review Cybernetico. I still have to review Evolve 8 and 9. I still have to review 2 Dragon Gate pay-per-views that I've seen, all of CCW that I've missed. I'm missing a lot, and I'm trying to catch up. I turned in all my college applications on Monday, so hopefully I'll finally have some free time now that I'm actually, not thinking about college 24/7. And like I said, I'm just really sorry for this video, for example. I shot this video. I said I would film this video a week after I shot the Bryan interview, which was almost 2 months ago. And then it took me another month, almost like 3 weeks after I shot it to edit it because I had some little problems with our audio delays between me and Sanders, but it was taken care of. There's no audio problems at all. Well, I wouldn't say that. There's a little, but nothing unbearable. I mean, just here and now. Here's the worst of it. Now and then, sometimes SandersRobin his audio might go like this, a little bit faster than normal, and sometimes it might go slow. But it's nothing you can't hear. I made sure that this audio was everything's audible, everything's clear, you can hear everything Sanders says. Just sometimes you might have to be aware of like the little fast and sudden slow tempo, but that's very, very rare in the video. Other than that, there really is minimal audio problems. And I also do want to say this about SandersRobin, because SandersRobin is a very, very humble person. And I've met him in person several times. He's a great guy, and because he's so humble, like he was saying in his video that the interview might be the worst one, let me say this, because I know he won't say it, so I'll say it for him. This interview was one of the best ones I've done. Sanders has a lot of great stuff to talk about in the interview. I had a lot of fun with the interview. The interview I thought came out really, really, really well, and it was definitely, if easily in the top 3 of the 7 I've done, and that's no disrespect to any of my other guests. I thought it went that well. So I hope you all enjoy the podcast. And from my all sides of the wrestling world, I've seen everything from PWG this whole year that I'm going to review, and I'm going to review Cybernetico, and I'm going to review the ROH TV show. The only thing I haven't seen out of that list is Cybernetico. So once I finish that, I'll combine that all into one big review, and I'll give it to you guys. But right now, enjoy the podcast with Sanders, and everyone, have a nice day. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the interview series. I am your illustrious host, Big Red 310, and my guest this week is
SandersRobin.
SandersRobin24. So let's get right into it. SandersRobin, what got you into pro wrestling?
I guess, when you're a little kid, you're just attracted to, those larger-than-life type of characters. So, at first I wasn't really into work rate and match quality. I was into the Ninja Turtles, the Ghostbusters, Superman, Batman, all that stuff. So, natural progression, just to like professional wrestling. At the time, the early 90s, it was very character-driven, very, gimmick heavy. I was just attracted to guys like the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and guys like that.
And so did you stay a full fan from then on, or was there a break?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was only a fan maybe like 91, 92, but that was it. I would say after WrestleMania 9, actually, with Yokozuna and Hulk Hogan, that whole disaster, that's what, all throughout the rest of the 90s. I mean, I used to watch it here and there. My brother was a huge Shawn Michaels fan, so I guess during Shawn's reign, I was pretty into it, but I wasn't really a hardcore fan, I'd probably say, until 2001. Like, after the King of the Ring 2001 and the invasion, that's what kind of, hooked me back again.
All right. And Why was there any specific reason why it hooked you back?
I don't know. I guess during the summer of 2001, I really a lot of it had to do with the comedy. I thought Angle and Austin, some of those skits, just kind of drew me in from the comedy aspect. And during the PWI magazine, a list, the top 20 matches of the half year. And, I never really saw professional wrestling in that light before. Like, I finally saw it, like, as, a competition, compete to have the best match. And I never saw it like that. That's what kind of, kept me a fan. I just thought it was really cool.
And did you watch any wrestling at all in the 90s? Or did you just cut off?
I mean, I used to watch it here and there. Like, if I was at my grandma's house and we had nothing to do, then I would watch WWF. Or, sometimes me and my brother would just rent tapes. But, like, I wasn't really, like, someone that, watched it every single week or ordered the pay-per-views. I guess I was just, like, a casual fan, but, like, definitely not a hardcore fan at all. And I think the thing was, back in the 90s, I said it really was geared more towards kids. Really didn't have a lot of great workers. And, the personalities just didn't really appeal to me. In the NBA, I would even say in hip-hop, you had the personalities and you had the storylines there, and it was just more, I don't know, I was just more drawn to that in the 90s. And it wasn't until the early 2000s where I really, became a hardcore fan again.
All right, I get that. And now I get to my second question that I ask everyone. What got you into YouTube?
I have to say, PS Power, WrestleMania 23. I think that's like that famous picture that everyone goes to. I saw his video and I was just laughing at it. I thought it was hysterical the way he talked and the way he shit on that wrestling. And then I saw Bill and Doug, talk about lockdown and how WWE sucks. And then I saw one of the video responses, and I saw Truth Slayer, and he just came off really professional, and I was just really drawn to him. And then, I didn't even know how to subscribe to anyone at first, or anything like that. And I said I got to see Truth Slayer's videos every single time. So I always used to search for him, and and Nightmare Baller came, and who else was there? So that was pretty much it. Crazy Mike 2007 was really, the year when I really became crazy about YouTube. I just thought it was really cool, and because you really don't get a chance to talk to people about wrestling. Like, not a lot of our friends are wrestling fans, so it was just really in 2007. It was just really refreshing at the time, to see people come on YouTube and talk about it.
I get that, all right. And what, like, so those guys kind of got you into YouTube, and then over time, did you, like, start getting it more? Like, you started making NBA videos? Did someone influence you there, or was that just your own doing?
Oh, the NBA thing? Well, I've always loved basketball. I mean, it's always been my first passion. So, I don't know. When I started, personally, when I started making videos, I wasn't, like, planning on doing it. I was just, like, screwing around one day. I said, why not just give it a shot? Like, I had no plans on becoming, like, a big-time shooter or someone that really wanted to get a whole lot of subscribers. I just kind of did it for fun. And I just tried to get practice in front of the camera and stuff like that. So, that's why I did basketball videos as well.
All right. Now let's get to one of the period that got me into wrestling, the period that got you to be a hard wrestling fan. Why don't you talk about WWE from 2001 through 2004?
Yeah, WWE in 2001. I think what made it so great was, you just had so many guys that could just go. I mean, the work rate was just unbelievable at the time, and you still had Rock and Austin at the top of the game. You get so many guys on the roster that were just in their prime. And, maybe the roster did get a little bit too oversaturated, and that's why you had the brand extension. But, the early 2000s, it was more wrestling-based. And some people do crap on the storylines. I'm not saying the storylines were perfect, but, I don't know, man. Rock, it was just amazing. And there's never going to be a time like that again. The talent was just unbelievable.
Top 3 favorite wrestlers from that period. Go.
I probably have to say Jericho, Benoit, and Angle.
Wow. All right. And of when this past few years, were you big fans of Jericho and Angle because of that? Like, are they still in your top 5
of all time?
Current.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think the thing about Jericho and Angle is they're very multi-dimensional.
They're great.
Yeah, I mean Jericho and Angle, two of my top favorites of all time, without a doubt.
And all right, now we move on to also when did the golden age, quote unquote, for us? When did, in your opinion, that start to fall? What event sparked that decline?
Okay, all right, that's a great question. I'd probably say JBL's title reign, without a doubt. It's just, I understand why they did it. Brock left. They were in a state of emergency. They really needed someone credible to step up. But JBL did a great job. It just, to me, it just seemed like, anybody could just be the champion. And I just think it sent a bad message. And it kind of just made the credibility of the championship, it just killed it for me. So I think that was one of the first things. And then towards the end of 2003, a lot of the storylines with, the McMahons got, really oversaturated. And I don't know, man. You could definitely see the decline, I would say, towards the end of 2003, going into 2004.
And did the emergence of John Cena also hurt this?
I love Cena at first. I mean, you can't deny that. I would actually say that Cena is one of the most underutilized wrestlers of all time, because they never really let him be himself after they turned him into a babyface. But I think, when Cena was a heel, I was shocked at how cutting edge he was. I mean, I think everyone pretty much feels the same way. But the thing with Cena, it really got under my skin in 2005. I came home from college for Survivor Series, and I remember when he actually beat Angle. He beat him with the FU. This is when Angle was teaming up with Davari. Remember, Davari was managing Angle.
Yeah.
And Cena won the match. And I remember being so pissed off. There was a Gatorade bottle in the room, and I kicked it as hard as I could. And everyone I was watching the pay-per-view was just like shaking. They were like, "God damn, calm down, man." But I was very frustrated, man. I was really, it was really an emotional time, because WWE was still all I had. That's really all I watched. So we really began to get frustrated, because you could just see it was just horseshit. Cena's character was just so bland and so stale, and you just really felt like this was never going to be the same again.
Then for this period, like, were you watching TNA at all? Like, when did you find out about them?
No, I mean, I've always knew about, at first it was called NWA TNA. I used to read about them in PWI. You had AJ Styles. You used to rank them really high in the PWI 500. So I always had my eye on it, but I never really began to watch it until they got the Spike TV deal. And I really, I guess I bought the AJ Styles DVD. That was the first time I ever really got exposed to TNA, and after that, it was kind of hooked. That started the whole, X Division craze.
What year was this?
This is late 2005.
Okay. And when was the point that you put TNA above WWE? If you did.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I'd probably say when Angle came in, without a doubt, like Genesis 2006, during that time.
Okay. And now,
I mean, it's tough to say, because I think I wasn't watching TNA in 2005. I was a little bit later than I think a lot of you guys. So I guess summer of 2006, going into when Angle was there, then I was just like, TNA is just where it is right now. And I would say even in 2007, that whole year, I know a lot of you guys were down on TNA in 2007, but I thought without that, TNA was still the better product.
And when did Ring of Honor emerge into your life?
Well, the thing about Ring of Honor, they had great exposure even going back to 2002 because of Eddie Guerrero. So they were in PWI magazine. So I always had my eye on it, but obviously you didn't know where to buy the DVDs. The DVDs had Coconuts and all that, and FYE and all those places. But it really wasn't until I guess I would say 2006. Like I think the pay-per-view deal, respect is earned. I think when Ring of Honor was announced on pay-per-view, that's when a lot of people started started to get really interested. True Slayer really started to plug the shit out of Rings of Honor, so that was another good thing. And then you saw, I would say in 2006, Bryan Danielson and Kenta, the Dragon Gate Six-Man, you saw all these matches, you know, beat out some of the WWE matches in the polls for Match of the Year. And that's when I think a lot of people really started to take note of it. I saw that, I was like, shit, these matches must be fucking great, so I got to get my hands on them. So that's what happened.
Then that's when they emerged into your life. When did you like start becoming when was this your number one promotion? When were you becoming a crazed fan?
Well, you know, I bought Joe versus Punk too, and you know, for most people that see that show for the first time, they're not really that blown away by it. You know, you really have to know the story of the Joe versus Punk trilogy to really appreciate it. So I was kind of like, it was a good match, but you know, I don't know, like maybe I'll just give it one more chance. And then someone recommended 4 DVDs, so I bought Unified, Glory of Honor 5 Night 2, Better Than Our Best, and what was the other one? Mayhem. And after watching those 4, I was like, holy shit. This is the first I've ever seen anything like this, and you know, this is definitely the promotion that, you know, this is what I'm all about right here.
And at the time, were you affiliated with any other indies yet or no?
No, you know, it took me a long time to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't think I saw my first PWG DVD until I guess it was the summer of 2008. So it took a while, and even for Chikara, so it took me a while to kind of become like a rounded indie fan.
Okay. Well, for your Ring of Honor experience, what was your first live show, DVD? We already got that. What was your first live show, and what was your favorite live show?
The first live show was Rising Above 2007. So that was at the end of December of 2000. You know, you had Nigel versus Aries. Everyone loves that match. That was an awesome match. But that show came off kind of weird because we were at the live show. The main event was Marufuji versus Claudio, and it was just kind of like a throwaway, you know, DVD taping match. So the actual taping of the show didn't really come off, you know, that pleasant. But, you know, I would say my favorite show out of all the New York shows I've been to was Death Before Dishonor 6, without a doubt. That's when Nigel beat Tyler Black, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio in the four-way. So, yeah, Death Before Dishonor 6 from August 2008. Definitely the best show ever.
All right. So that's when you kind of started the craze guy. Well, you've also built a reputation on here, like myself, like Honor Hammer, Markeem, Trademark, and many others, of the indie guys. So now I would like to ask you your original and current thoughts on various indie promotions. When you first saw them and what you think of them now. What did you think when you first saw Dragon Gate USA?
Well, I think everyone was pretty much blown away. You know, it was just the perfect show. I mean, you had, you know, like I think True Slayer said this before. Like, if you haven't seen Dragon Gate before, like you kind of have this impression that there's nothing like it. Like, it's just crazy action, you know, nonstop athleticism. It's just, you know, you've never seen anything like it. And but you know, after a while, it just, you know, and with the way they started the book the promotion with the influx of you know, American luster, and now right now it's just there's no enthusiasm at all for Dragon Gate USA. It's kind of sad actually. But you know, but Dragon Gate in Japan and you know the Dragon Gate style, it's not, you're never going to see anything like it. It's something special.
And original thoughts when you saw PWG, current thoughts right now.
Yeah, you know, when I saw PWG for the first time, I thought it was very boring and just very slow. Even PWG sells out. If you watch some of the early PWG stuff, it's just really tough to get into. It's easy to fall asleep to it too. And it's I don't know, but over time they've really I guess we've moved into a different venue. When they moved to Reseda, the crowd just got a lot better. I don't know, maybe it's the alcohol. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, man, they bring in so much talent now, and you know, I don't know if it's the original lines, but you know, you can't deny it. I think they do the best job of putting together, you know, matches that we've never seen before, and every single month they've been knocking it out of the park. So you know, I love PWG, even though some do have mixed feelings about it.
When you first saw Chikara, what do you think of it now?
When I first saw Chikara, you know, I guess it was I guess it goes back to 2007. People used to recommend matches to watch in Daily Motion, and I always thought it was kind of cheesy. I think when, you know, Chikara took a lot of steps. I think one of the biggest steps was having that four-way with El Generico, Kota Ibushi, Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks, and I guess it was Jigsaw. That match really put them on the map. And then on top of that, the Dragon Gate Chikara Showcase match. And then I think Mike Quackenbush Wrestling and Ring of Honor is also something that a lot of people overlook. I think that was huge for Chikara. It made Quackenbush a bigger name as well. So I think those things really make Chikara stand out. And it's just fun. It's just, obviously people say Chikara is fun. But as far as the wrestling goes, I think it's really underrated. It's just really, it's like a combination of Lucha and I guess Dragon Gate. Those styles mixed into one. It's just a piece of art, Chikara. When they do it right. So it's not my favorite promotion, but it's something that I think everyone should check out.
And we already talked about what you thought about when you first got to Ring of Honor, but what is your opinion on the current Ring of Honor state with the TV deal?
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's okay. That's all I'll say about it. I like the production values of the TV deal, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Obviously, I think it's a step up, and the crowds will be better. I like the way it flows, though. It's kind of like a documentary style right before the matches. That's cool and everything, but I don't think you need Jim Cornette to conduct every interview segment. I would just like to see the wrestlers have some more independence out there, and maybe guys interrupt each other. I want to see more feuds and more better promos, and main events. I wouldn't say you have to stack every show with a spectacular main event. I think maybe you should have solid wrestling, but nothing that's gonna. I think on HDNet, I think they kind of overdid it with the the big main events. They had all these big main events in such a watered down environment that it kind of took a lot of the specialness away from the taping. So I don't know, man. I think there's room for improvement. I would say that. I don't think anyone's really too excited about the television deal so far, but I think the future is bright. Though.
Okay. And have you seen all the shows or no?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
Okay. I'm very behind, but that's a different story. All right. Now we get into another thing that that we've kind of spoken about over the past few years. When did you start getting into Japanese wrestling?
I guess it was the same year I got into the Ring of Honor. Because I always used to be on message boards. I used to go on Busted Quad. I guess that was kind of like a tribute to Triple H. That was the forums. And, they always used to recommend Japanese stuff. So that's kind of where I used to watch everything. They recommend Kenta versus Narufuji and, all that stuff. And, obviously when you watch Ring of Honor too, even back in 2006, 2007, there was, you had the Noah guys coming in all the time. So, it kind of connected you with the Japanese scene to a degree. Because you knew, all those guys like Kenta Marufuji, they kind of became, stars in your eyes. So you kind of wanted to follow what they were doing in Japan as well.
And now we get to another thing that you talk about a lot on YouTube, basketball. When did you start liking that?
Yeah, this goes back a long time ago. I guess when I was in sixth, that's when I really got into it. I don't know. I saw like Michael Jordan on the cover of a Wheaties box, and I was like, hey, let me pick up my basketball and just start dribbling it. Like that's kind of when I got in. And I don't know. I think it was my parents at the time, they were going through a divorce, so they were like fighting all the time, and I think basketball was just kind of an escape for me. It's something that I just had I wanted to do just to get away from things, and it kind of it was just it's just nothing like it, and it's just something I just love to death, and I don't know what I would do without it. It's just a great sport. And then obviously you got the NBA as well. I think the NBA, and going back to one of the reasons why I kind of stayed away from wrestling, I thought the NBA had such great characters. Back in the mid-90s, you had Barkley, you had Jordan, even a guy like John Starks in the mix. You just had so many larger than life personalities, and the marketing was great too. The NBA used to market the shit out of Jordan. He just became larger than life. Everyone wanted to be like him, and so I guess that's why. I think the storylines and the personalities were there in the NBA as well. So that's why I like it so much.
Well, what are your thoughts on the unfortunate lockout?
I don't know. It doesn't look good so far. If you were to bet money on it, it looks like they're definitely not going to have a season. But I would say this. If they do get a deal done and they start playing back in February, just like they did in '99. I think we're in store for a hell of a playoff. So the playoffs in 1999 were so unpredictable because it was a shortened season, so a lot of teams you really couldn't get a feel for how good some of those teams were. You got to have a lot of upsets and just a lot of unpredictabilities. So this might end up being one of the best seasons ever if they do come to a deal. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, the college basketball scene is great this year. You got a lot of talent. A lot of guys stayed because of the lockout, so the talent's there, and you get to see guys like Doc Rivers' son. So this is so much talent there in college. So I know a lot of guys aren't big college basketball fans, but definitely give it a shot because this should be a great college season.
All right, now let's get into some of the questions. I got a lot, so we'll just kind of run these through. What kind of music do you like?
Hip hop.
All right. Who are your top five?
I guess top five when I was a kid. When I was a kid, at first it was Criss Cross, then it was Naughty by Nature, then it was Dr. Dre and Snoop Doggy Dogg, and then it was Wu-Tang, and then it was Biggie. At the time, I would say Tupac. When I was a kid, he really didn't become popular until after he got shot. I'm serious. Like, nobody talked about him. Then when he got shot, then he went to jail, and then after he died, it wasn't really until after he died where he became like this icon. So it was kind of weird because when he was in his prime, no one really listened to him, at least in the suburbs. So.
And are you still a hip hop fan today, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I still listen to some of the artists that come out today, but overall, it's definitely not the same. Like it's kind of like professional wrestling. The mainstream scene sucks. Obviously, you got some guys on the underground, still pretty decent, but even that's not the same. It doesn't compare to the '90s. The personalities and the storylines too. You had, I'm not sure if you're even aware of this. You had like this East Coast versus West Coast rivalry,
I've heard of
and obviously some people actually got killed over it, but it was just exciting though. It was exciting to read the magazines and to see who's dissing who. It was just but at the same time, the music, all the music had a message involved, and I think that's something that a lot of people ignore. So yeah.
Next question: who were your top 5 NBA players in the '90s? No specific order.
Okay, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, and probably John Starks.
All right. Well, that answers the question.
And probably Larry Johnson.
That answers the next question. Do you think Scottie Pippen is a top 50 player of all time? So we're not even going to get to that. Next question. WWE didn't build many new stars from the 06 to 09 period. If you could have pushed any one wrestler from that time period to the main event, who would it have been and why?
Okay, are we talking about guys that debuted like in 2006?
Just anyone who was not a main eventer from 06 through 09 who could
I'm
have
trying
been.
to think.
Anyone come to mind?
I don't know.
What about
who was there?
Matt Hardy? I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't really think they had a lot of talent during that. No, not Matt Hardy.
Just guys who were mid-carders.
I would say there. Nobody.
Not even like MVP?
No. I don't think he was that good. I mean, I think he's getting better now. He's wrestling in Japan, but I would say Shelton Benjamin in 2005. Like, remember when he had that match with Shawn Michaels? And he had the match with Jericho at Backlash?
Yeah.
He had 2 great back-to-back matches. I thought he was going to be the next big. I thought, wow, that's Carlito, and then fans started turning on him for no reason. And then ever since then, they brought the Mama gimmick to him. He just was in the slump, and his matches started to suffer. And so I'll probably say Shelton Benjamin.
All right.
If they, if you had the right creative genius, maybe they could have done.
Yeah. Have you? Okay, this is a very interesting question. I've heard you're one of the nicest guys ever, but you seem really intimidating. Have you ever had anyone scared of you just off your appearance? That's an awesome question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's kind of frustrating too because I'm kind of a shy guy. So if people are shy to talk to me, sometimes you just don't end up talking to them or talking to anybody. It's kind of unfortunate. But personally, I would like the person to be, or the girl or whatever, to be more aggressive and approach me. Because I'm kind of shy to tell you the truth. And the fact that I don't know, I guess I come off intimidating because maybe I try to be a little bit too macho or too hardcore. Um, I don't know. It's kind of unfortunate. It's a good question.
Do you like the goofy, typical, milk-loving Kurt Angle from 2000 or the intense competitor Kurt Angle?
I don't know. I think there's a time and a place for both of them, but I like the goofy Kurt Angle because the thing with that was, when it was time to wrestle, he was still, still a threat. He's still the Olympic gold medalist in the ring. Like, he didn't change his style or anything like that. But I think Angle's had a really tough time over the last couple of years with his character. It's just, I don't know. He just hasn't been as entertaining as he could be. So I like a mix of both, and I think yeah, the goofy Kurt Angle.
Though it might not seem this way on DVD, but at the live PWG shows, Akira Tozawa made a huge impact on the promotion and made everyone in the crowd absolutely love him, and made us all sad when he left. What are your opinions on Tozawa, and why do you think his short run in PWG meant so much to us?
Tozawa was really gifted. I think because he connects with the American crowd, just the way he wrestles. He just knows how to work a crowd, and I think he should be in WWE because that's what he does best. You just feel that connection with him. And people with us right now with all the Trump fans and all that stuff. He was just perfect for PWG. It's a shame that he's gone.
Which match would you like to see, although you know that it's never going to happen, and a match that you would like to see and that you know it could actually happen?
Okay. All right. First up, I'll go with I'm going to go with Chris Benoit versus Kenta.
Wow.
As a match that will never happen. And a match right now that I definitely want to see would be Kurt Angle versus Bryan Danielson, which could happen. Angle makes the move to WWE, which he should. Seriously, especially right now. Do you really think Angle wants to do anything else in TNA with the way everything is right now? I don't know what's wrong with that man, but I don't know. I'll get very frustrated talking about this. But yeah, Angle versus Bryan Danielson. Hopefully, it will happen.
All right. What are your thoughts on people who say Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player ever and not MJ?
Well, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a game. He dominated. I think he averaged like 60 points during one season. But I think people have to realize that the level of play wasn't where it is right now. The athleticism was different. Wilt Chamberlain was bigger than everyone. If we're just talking about pure basketball skill, you have to say Michael Jordan. Jordan played in the NBA's greatest era. An era where people just wanted to knock your block off. During the '80s, it was crazy. You had to deal with hand checking, and it was just very difficult to score back then. And Jordan was he killed everybody. So I have to say Michael Jordan is definitely a more highly skilled basketball player than Wilt Chamberlain.
What was your best basketball performance in an organized game?
That's a good question. I don't know. I had a lot of rec games where I scored about like 40 points, but I don't know if we can really count those. I don't know. I guess during my freshman year of high school, I had some really good games where I had like 15 or 16 points, and I guess that's not a lot, but at the time it was they were pretty big games. One of them was a tournament game, so so I guess I would say that when I was a freshman in high school.
You played college ball, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a question later on, so I'll kind of address it now. I think you've mentioned in the past that kind of fell apart. Kind of why and how?
Yeah, when I was a freshman in college, I played in Division II school, and at the time I just really wasn't ready for it. It was I was actually the only white kid on the team. It's nothing wrong with it. It was a great experience. I had a great time. A lot of those kids, I wish I could go back and do it again. I don't know. I was really losing my passion for basketball, to tell you the truth. And, at the time, I was really getting into wrestling. And maybe I just should have focused more, on, just appreciating it and just, working out harder. And I don't know, man. It was just really something that I don't think I really appreciated at the time. But if I could go back, I would have made the best of it.
What is your overall opinion on Allen Iverson?
Allen Iverson is I think the thing that made him great was he was fearless in his prime. He had so much skill, but he had a lot of heart too. played through injuries and everything like that. But I don't know. It just seemed like I think his passion is gone though. Whatever he used to have, he just doesn't have it anymore. I don't know if it has to do with age or I think he's an alcoholic now or semi-alcoholic. That might have something to do with it. So, but back in the day, I mean, we're talking about maybe pound for pound, the most talented basketball player ever. He's not even 6 feet.
What NBA player, past or present, would have made a great career as a pro wrestler? Excellent question.
That's great. I would say Charles Barkley from a personality standpoint, but from an from the standpoint of athleticism, I don't know. It's a great question. Somebody's going to come to mind. I'll probably say LeBron. As far as, he's got the power, he's got the speed. I think it would have been great if he at least tried.
I'm just imagining Charles Barkley as a pro wrestler. That sounds incredible. Next, what are some of your favorite and most disappointing moments in wrestling?
All right, yeah, there's a lot of them. Obviously, when Benoit won the Rumble, and then when he won the belt at WrestleMania 20, I literally cried, and I hugged my brother. We were very happy for the guy. We just thought he never really got the respect he deserved. So that was a great moment. I would say Benoit's standing ovation at the Rumble was great. The whole Angle and Austin feud was awesome. What else was there? I would say that like the No Mercy 2002 pay-per-view, those last two matches, that's something I always look back on. And Shawn Michaels' the Elimination Chamber victory, that's another one. I would say the darkest moment in wrestling history, started with the Ring of Honor. I started the turn of the Ring of Honor. I would say Judgment Day 2007, Khali versus Cena. After that main event, I was just kind of disgusted. And, I was like, why am I even watching this shit? This is, what the fuck am I thinking? It was just one of those moments where it just really made me feel bad.
You're the second person to mention the great Khali John Cena feud as being one of the reasons why they kind of got down in WWE. That shouldn't be a coincidence.
I think the thing. Let me just say this. I think the thing was that 2007. I think there's so many injuries at that time. I think that's another reason why. So to WWE's credit, that obviously the roster was depleted. So.
Okay. Next question. Which wrestlers do you think would have made great NBA players?
Okay. I think Kurt Angle would have been a great player because he's just in such great shape. Rob Van Dam because he could jump. Obviously he could jump higher than the one gets higher than RVD. So I'll probably say RVD and Angle. Shelton Benjamin as well. He could jump. He could leap onto the top rope. So those are probably the top three right there.
All right. If you could pick any promotion or fed to invade another, what would they be?
That's a great question. I think right now, because we're so into the Indy, I think it would be really cool to see. I was thinking about doing like the ROH PWG invasion. It would be cool, but I'm not sure if it would really work right now because there's so many articles. I think a WWE TNA type of invasion. I don't think anyone would really care right now. It's just the way TNA is. I don't really think it could have the impact that it could have. So I don't know. I would probably say like Dragon Gate USA invading Dragon Gate USA / Evolve invading Ring of Honor. I think that's probably the most intriguing for the indie fans because of Gabe Sapolsky. He's the former booker for ROH. So I think the guys that he has under contract, invading ROH. So I think that would be a pretty cool storyline.
All right. If you could see John Cena battle rap any MC, who would it be?
Probably have to say Cannabis. I know Cena said that he's a big Cannabis fan, and Cannabis is probably like the ultimate battle rapper. But he'd probably get destroyed by Cannabis. He'd probably get destroyed by a lot of people. But Cena's great, though. He wrote his own rhymes back in 2003. And for sure, I know he did. So I'll give him credit. But I wouldn't say that, though. He would get killed by Cannabis.
What's your favorite wrestling video package ever?
That's a good question. I'll probably say Brock Taker, Hell in a Cell, No Mercy 2002. That's one of the ones that really gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah. Next up, we have, I believe we have 3 questions left, so we'll get to them quickly. Do you think making videos on YouTube has helped improve your speaking skills?
I don't know. I definitely think it has. I think I've been kind of in a slump over the last year, so I definitely got help. But overall, I would say it definitely has. I'm not like you. Like I was always a terrible speaker in high school and even throughout college. So it's like it definitely has improved. You know, it's something that you got to drill every single day, and you definitely feel yourself getting better. So it's definitely been a positive thing.
Have you ever traveled to a different state or country? That's cool.
Different state. I mean, my grandparents actually live out in California, so I've gone there a couple times. Obviously, New York, New York. I live in New Jersey, so I travel to New York constantly. And so, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. I've never been to another country though, besides Canada.
All right. Last question. Do you think the Fab Five was the most influential when it comes to how the culture of the NBA is today?
That's a great question. I think the Fab Five, a lot of their mentality and the way they dress, it came from hip hop. They took whatever was in hip hop from the late '80s with NWA, Public Enemy, and just brought it to basketball. So that's it's pretty remarkable actually. But as far as basketball goes, I mean, it seems like they were the ones that really came up with black socks and black shoes. And you know, everyone. I think you got to give Jordan credit too, because I think he was the first one to come up with the long shorts. So you know, it was a combination of them just taking ideas from other players, but they're the ones that really brought it together in a team concept.
And with that, our time has ended. I want to thank you very much for being on the show. We got a lot of great material, a lot of good stuff to talk about, and I really greatly appreciate you being on the show, and I hope you had a good time.
Well, thanks a lot. I hope the show came out great. I appreciate what you're doing. You're definitely like the Chris Jericho about you. Yeah, hopefully it came out all right. Thanks for watching.
All right, and I should plug next week's interview. I do not have a full schedule of interviews for the next 4 weeks. I will plan them tomorrow. I do have an interview next week, though. The interview next week is not someone that any of you know. I know him as AG Vito for life. He's a friend. I talked to him on Skype. I've talked to him on YouTube, and he really has a great story to tell about rising through the wrestling business on a smaller level. And he has a lot of great information. And so it's going to be one of those things where you guys don't know the person, but it's going to be a good interview. So tomorrow when I'll release more information in the following days about what type of questions to ask. And so once again, thank you, Sanders. And with that, I'm Big Red 310. We are out, and have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye.